This is Pav Bambra here for PSB Sports. I'm on the Billy Joe Saunders versus Avtandil Kurtzar press conference here in London. I'm joined by BT Sport and Box Nation's John Rawling. How you doing, John?
Good, thank you.
Firstly, John, what do you make of today's presser? Obviously, pleasantries were originally exchanged back in Leicester, but I mean, today I think Billy Joe wanted to make a few points clear to Kurtzar, didn't he?
Yeah, he wanted to score one or two psychological points, didn't he? But I tell you what, beneath that, Billy Joe knows that he's going to have to get into shape for this, because this fella he's fighting is hard. He's been avoided over the years. Okay, he's got defeats on his record, but he's not most of the top guys haven't wanted to know him because he brings a lot of problems. He's small, massively physically strong, and as we saw against Tommy Langford, he can punch. So Billy knows this is a real fight, I'm sure.
Absolutely, and in terms of some of the threats Kurtzar poses, obviously we saw that he was able to walk down Langford. Even though Langford was ahead on the cards, to be fair, by 4 rounds, he was able to get Langford with a pretty good shot, having walked him down. So what sort of threats do you believe he'll pose to Billy ahead of fight night?
Well, I think it's highly unlikely you're going to see Kurtzar out jabbing Billy Joe. I mean, that's not going to happen. He stands, well, Billy Joe's my sort of height, 5'5", 9.5", 5'10", maybe a little bit more than that. And the fella he's fighting is about 5'4", 5'4", 5'4.5". So he's punching down at him. So he's got problems there. And so far as the other fella's concerned, he's got problems catching up with Billy, who's always had great footwork. He moves really well, and we know that he's going to bring that. He's a very good boxer, Billy, when he's at his best, and he's a southpaw, so he's got those problems. And it's about whether or not he can actually get to him. He's going to go in there swinging. He's going to try and do what he did to Tommy Langford. He'll try and detonate one of those massive hooks on Billy Joe and try and put him away. And Bill said to me that, in his opinion, the only way in which the guy wins the fight is to knock him out. And he says that's not going to happen. He said, I'll jab him, I'll move, put it on him for the first 3 or 4 rounds, and by the end of that, he said he'll be blowing.
In terms of the bigger picture, John, obviously, I mean, it's been a frustrating year for Saunders, hasn't it? Because he's been meant to have thought Golovkin, maybe Canelo. There's been a lot of big fights out there, the Eubank Jr. rematch. What do you believe now Billy Joe Saunders' mindset is ahead of this fight? Well,
it needs to be good. He needs to have his eye on the ball, because it would be easy to be frustrated at not having had the Golovkin fight, because it looked as though that fight was made. But the fight against Jacobs was a tough one. It took more out of Golovkin than they thought. And also, of course, there's now, on September the 16th, the fight coming up against Saul Alvarez, which is the massive mega fight that they've always wanted. Billy reckons that he's going to get the winner of that one by the end of the year, and let's hope that's right. But so far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure he would be of this mindset as well, this guy who is fighting Kurtzar is tough. He's coming here to win, and Billy Joe has to be on his game to win it. He's got big fights ahead of him if he comes through it. Tough one though, he should win it, but he's got to do what he does and make it his fight, and he knows he's got to be in great shape.
Absolutely, John. And John, can you speak to you a bit about, obviously BT Sport had their activation back in April now. There's been 3 very good shows so far put on by Frank Warren. How do you think things are going at the moment with the BT Sport link-up and obviously some of the competition now with Sky? Because I believe there's been 2 fight nights now, April 22nd and May the 13th, where BT Sport and Sky have gone head-to-head on the same night.
Well, it's up to the punters to decide who's doing the better job. As far as we're concerned, obviously we think we're doing it fine. There are really good competitive fights which have been shown on the BT bills, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm enjoying it enormously. And I do think those 3 shows have been terrific. I think they're giving the punters great value for money. The fight in Manchester, the fight in Leicester, the bill in Leeds, they've all been top-notch stuff. And a little bit of competition never goes amiss. It's good for the sport, it's good for the boxers, and I think it's good for the viewers as well. It's only going to raise the standard. And I think BT and those bills which Frank Warren's produced, the last 3 ones, have shown just how well it can be done.
Absolutely. 2 more things, John. Firstly, Davis Walsh fight week is here. How do you see that fight going with Davis and Walsh? Obviously, you were part of the head-to-head they did back at the hotel on Box Nation. So how do you see the fight going on Saturday night?
Well, Davis is the big favourite. He's the puncher. He looked sensational in his last fight. But I've got a lot of respect for Liam. He's absolutely lives and breathes boxing. And he wins this one it is one of those which is a life changer. He's going to have a lot of support down there at the Copper Box, which is going to help him unquestionably. We know he's going to be super fit, and I think Davis could be in for a bit of a surprise. I know that the bookies have got Davis as the big favourite, but I think Liam is in there with a very, very real shot of creating the upset. Floyd Mayweather would have us believe something completely different, but Liam, he's got to forget Floyd Mayweather. He's not fighting Floyd Mayweather, he's fighting Davis. And whatever Floyd says, when it comes to the fight, it's going to make not one scrap of difference. It's what Liam can do with Davis, whether or not he can handle him, and how much he wants it, and all the dreaming, all the work that he's done over the years. This is the big one. It's now that it counts, and I think that he has got a very definite squeak of pulling it off.
Absolutely, John. And finally, Tyson Fury, we believe his hearing should continue this week. Do you believe that he'll be back in the ring this year? And obviously, you know, huge fights ahead for him with Joshua, Wilder, Klitschko again, maybe. You know, so many big fights on the Fury still.
Well, that's up for the British Boxing Board of Control to decide. I personally very much hope that he will be back in the ring, because I think it's good for Tyson Fury apart from anything else. He's been over in Spain working with Billy Joe, getting himself into some sort of shape. He's already lost a load of weight. I think it's good for boxing. I think it's good for the heavyweights if Tyson comes back, because, okay, the Joshua fight against Klitschko, great fight, and it's been hyped to the heavens, and rightly so, and that was brilliant for boxing. But let's not forget what Tyson Fury did to Vladimir Klitschko. He beat him, and he beat him well through boxing skills. And I think that the whole heavyweight division is going to be very much the better, very much the stronger if Tyson Fury's back among it. And I really hope for Tyson's sake that he does get his licence back, because he's still a relatively young man. He's got loads to offer, and let's see him back in the boxing ring and showing just how good a fighter he is.
For sure. John Rawling, I want to say thank you so much today for your time. I wish you all the best, and I believe Davis Walsh fight week is here, so I think we'll be seeing a lot more of each other over the next week. Thank you, John.
Okay, mate. Cheers.
Pleasure.